Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Let me say that again because it's worth repeating. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Many people are going around saying, I want, but they're not becoming the kind of person who can have what they want. That's the missing piece. The marketplace pays for value, and you've got to become valuable. Life doesn't respond to your intentions, it responds to your actions, your character, your being. I remember a young man who came to me years ago, bright fellow, full of dreams. He said, Mr. Rohn, I want to be a millionaire. I asked him, are you willing to become a millionaire? Because what you want and what you're willing to become are two different things. He looked puzzled. You see, wanting $1 million is common. Becoming the person who attracts $1 million, that's uncommon. Let me share something with you that my mentor, Mr. Schoaf, taught me when I was just 25 years old. He said, Jim, if you want to have more, you must become more. Simple philosophy, profound truth. If you want to have more, you must become more. Your income can grow only to the extent that you do. Now, I'm not just talking about money. This principle applies to every aspect of life, health, relationships, spirituality, everything. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Consider your health for a moment. Many people want to be healthy, but they aren't willing to become the kind of person who makes healthy choices day in and day out. They want the results without the discipline. But life doesn't work that way. The body keeps an impeccable record. It doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you do consistently. The same is true for relationships. I've met countless people who say they want a wonderful marriage, but they aren't willing to become the kind of person who creates and nurtures a wonderful marriage. They want love, respect, and understanding, but they aren't giving love, respect, and understanding. Remember, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. This is why personal development is so crucial. It's the process of becoming. When you work on yourself, your life gets better. Not by chance, but by change. Your personal growth precedes your financial growth. Your spiritual growth precedes your ability to serve. Your intellectual growth precedes your ability to solve complex problems. Let me tell you about two salespeople I once knew. They worked for the same company, had the same products, the same territory, the same training. One was making $100,000 a year, the other barely $25,000. What was the difference? Not in what they wanted, they both wanted success. The difference was in who they had become. One had become a student of his craft, constantly learning, growing, developing. The other was just putting in time. One became valuable, the other remained the same. You see, the world doesn't pay you for what you know, it pays you for what you do with what you know. It pays you for who you become with what you know. Knowledge isn't power until it's applied. And when you apply it, you begin to transform who you are, and consequently what you attract. Now, let's talk about your personal philosophy, because that's where it all starts. Your philosophy determines your attitude. Your attitude determines your actions. Your actions determine your results. And your results determine your lifestyle. It all starts with how you think. If you think success is a matter of luck, you'll wait for it. If you think it's a matter of circumstance, you'll blame your lack of it on your circumstances. But if you understand that success is a matter of personal development, of becoming, you'll take responsibility for your growth. And that's when things begin to change. I want you to write this down. The big challenge of life is to become as valuable as you can become. Because the marketplace only pays extraordinary rewards for extraordinary performance. It doesn't pay much for average, but it pays a lot for excellence. Years ago, I used to ask, how can I make more money? But that was the wrong question. The better question is, how can I become more valuable? When I started focusing on that question, my income started to grow. Not by accident, but by design. Think about it, the highest paid people in any field are the ones who bring the most value. The person who solves the biggest problems gets the biggest rewards. The person who serves the most people effectively earns the most money. It's not complicated, but it does require a shift in thinking from how can I get to how can I become? Now, here's where many people get confused. They think that if they just want something badly enough, if they just visualize it intensely enough, it will come to them. There's some truth to the power of desire and visualization, but they're only part of the equation. The missing piece is becoming. You've got to match your desire with development, your visualization with value creation. Otherwise, you're just wishing, and wishing doesn't change reality. Becoming changes reality. I remember when I was first exposed to this concept. I was working at a department store making minimum wage, struggling to make ends meet. I had dreams, sure. I wanted a better life for my family. I wanted financial freedom. I wanted to make a difference, but I was approaching it all wrong. I was asking for more money without becoming more valuable. I was hoping for a better position without developing better skills. I was wishing for success without becoming successful in my mind and actions first. And then Mr. Schoaf came into my life and turned my thinking upside down, or I should say right side up. He taught me that the key to having more was becoming more. He introduced me to books, to ideas, to a whole new way of thinking. And as I began to grow, to develop myself, to become more, my outer world started to reflect my inner world. My income grew because I grew. Here's a question for you. If you took better care of your health, what would happen? You'd have better health if you developed more skills. What would happen? You'd have more opportunities. If you became a more loving, patient, understanding person, what would happen to your relationships? They'd improve. See, it's not magic, it's cause and effect. You don't get what you want, you get what you deserve. And you deserve what you become. That's why personal development isn't optional for a successful life, it's essential. Let me share another story. There were two farmers who prayed for rain during a drought. One went out and prepared his fields, tilled the soil, planted the seeds, removed the rocks. The other just prayed. Which one do you think received the harvest when the rain finally came? The one who prepared, the one who became ready, the one who took action. You see, it's not enough to want the rain. You've got to prepare for it. It's not enough to want success. You've got to prepare for it. And that preparation is all about becoming skilled, becoming knowledgeable, becoming disciplined, becoming valuable. Now, let's talk about something that might be uncomfortable but is absolutely essential to understand. You are right now what you have chosen to be, not what you've wished to be, not what you hope to be, not what you've intended to be, but what you've chosen to be through your daily decisions and actions. Every day you're making choices that are shaping who you are, the books you read or don't read, the conversations you have or don't have, the disciplines you practice or don't practice, the risks you take or don't take. All of these choices accumulate to create the person you are. And that person, not your wishes, is what attracts your life circumstances. I want you to really let that sink in. Your current situation is not a reflection of what you want. It's a reflection of who you've become. And if you don't like your current situation, the solution isn't to want something different. It's to become someone different. Now, this might sound harsh, but it's actually incredibly empowering, because it means your future is in your hands. Your destiny is not determined by external circumstances, but by internal choices. You can change your life by changing yourself. This is the essence of personal responsibility. It's understanding that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you can control how you respond, how you develop, how you grow. And that response, that development, that growth is what shapes your destiny. I've seen this principle at work in my own life and in the lives of countless others. When you take responsibility for becoming the person who deserves the success you want, success becomes almost inevitable. Not because you're manipulating the universe, but because you're aligning yourself with the natural laws of success. Here's a powerful exercise. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write down everything you want. On the right side, write down the kind of person you need to become to attract those things. Then focus your energy on the right side of that paper, because that's where the magic happens. If you want $1 million income, become $1 million person. If you want an extraordinary relationship, become an extraordinary partner. If you want excellent health, become someone who makes excellent health choices. The becoming precedes the having. This principle even applies to the subtle areas of life. Have you ever noticed that some people seem to attract drama wherever they go? Others attract opportunity. Others attract loyal friends. Others attract constant struggle. Why is that? It's not because of what they want. It's because of who they are. The dramatic person doesn't necessarily want drama, but they become someone whose thoughts, words, and actions generate drama. The opportunity magnet doesn't just want opportunity, they become the kind of person who recognizes and creates opportunities. The person with loyal friends doesn't just want loyalty, they become loyal. Your being precedes your having. I want to emphasize something important here. This principle that you attract what you are, not what you want, doesn't mean you should abandon your desires. Desires are crucial. They're the starting point of achievement, but they're just at a starting point, not the whole journey. The journey is about using those desires as motivation to become more, to develop yourself, to grow in wisdom, in skill, and character. Your desires should drive your development, and then your development will drive your results. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with a young entrepreneur. She was frustrated because her business wasn't growing as fast as she wanted. She had vision boards, affirmations, all the trappings of positive thinking, but something was missing. I asked her what kind of person could run the business you envision. She started listing qualities: knowledgeable about the industry, excellent with finances, a strong leader, a skilled marketer, disciplined, persistent. I said, great. Now, how many of those qualities have you developed in yourself? There was a long pause. She realized she had been focusing so much on what she wanted that she had neglected who she needed to become. That conversation changed everything for her. She started investing in her own development. She took courses on business finance, studied marketing, worked with a leadership coach, developed better systems and disciplines. And guess what happened? Her business started to grow, not because her desire changed, but because she changed. Now, I want to address a common misconception. Some people hear you attract what you are, and they think it means they have to be perfect before they can have success. That's not it at all. We're all works in progress. The key is not perfection, it's direction. It's growth. It's becoming better today than you were yesterday. Success doesn't come to you, you go to it. And you go to it by growing in its direction. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every discipline you establish is a step toward becoming the person who attracts the life you want. Let's talk about wealth for a moment, since that's often what people think of when they hear about attraction. Wealth is not just about money, it's about value. The more value you create, the more wealth you can attract. But here's the catch. You can only create value to the extent of your own development. If you want to be wealthy, ask yourself, what kind of value am I providing? How many people am I serving? How effectively am I solving problems? Then focus on becoming the kind of person who can provide more value, serve more people, solve bigger problems. I often tell people that the fastest way to success is to replace expediency with excellence. Don't look for shortcuts. Look for ways to become excellent, because the marketplace rewards excellence, not mediocrity. I remember talking to a group of salespeople once. They were all looking for the magic script, the perfect closing technique. I told them the best closing technique is caring about your customer. When you genuinely care, when you're genuinely knowledgeable, when you're genuinely trying to solve their problem, the sale takes care of itself. But you can't fake caring. You have to become a caring person. You have to become knowledgeable. You have to become solution-oriented. This principle that you attract what you are also explains why some lottery winners and sudden inheritors of wealth often lose it all. They got the money without becoming the kind of person who could manage and grow money. They had the having without the becoming, and it didn't last. On the other hand, look at people who lose everything and bounce back. They rebuild their wealth because wealth is not just what they have, it's who they are. They become the kind of person who creates wealth, so even when circumstances take it away, they can create it again. The same is true for relationships. Some people wonder why they can't find a great partner. They have a list of what they want: kindness, intelligence, humor, attractiveness, but they haven't become the kind of person who would attract someone with those qualities. Like attracts like. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. I have to tell you about something fascinating I've observed over the years. When someone starts genuinely working on themselves, becoming more patient, more kind, more disciplined, more skilled, they often find that the things they used to desperately want start coming to them without as much struggle. It's like the universe responds not to their wanting, but to their becoming. But here's the irony. By the time those things come, their perspective has usually changed. They've grown so much that they now want different, often better things. That's the beauty of personal development. It not only helps you attract what you want, it elevates what you want. Let me give you a personal example. Early in my career, I desperately wanted to make enough money to pay my bills without stress. That was my focus. But as I began to work on myself, to study success principles, to develop my skills, I started making more than enough to pay the bills. And something interesting happened. My focus shifted from just paying bills to creating wealth, making a difference, leaving a legacy. My desires evolved as I evolved. And I believe that's how it's supposed to work. As you become more, you desire better. Not just more stuff, but better contribution, better impact, better meaning. Now, I want to address something that might be going through some of your minds. You might be thinking, Jim, this all sounds great, but what about circumstances beyond my control? What about the economy, or my background, or the opportunities available to me? These are fair questions. And yes, external circumstances do matter. Some people start with advantages that others don't have. Some face challenges that others don't face. I acknowledge that reality. But here's what I've found. While circumstances influence your starting point, they don't have to determine your destination. Your becoming is more powerful than your circumstances. The person you become can overcome, adapt to, and even transform your circumstances. I've seen people from the humblest beginnings rise to extraordinary success through the power of personal development. I've seen people face tremendous adversity and not just survive, but thrive because they focused on becoming stronger, wiser, more resilient. The circumstance didn't define them, their response to it did. Here's a powerful truth. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control who you become in response to what happens to you. And who you become determines what you attract next. Think about that for a moment. Even when life doesn't go as planned, even when you face setbacks and challenges, you still have the power to choose who you'll become in response. Will you become bitter or better? Will you become a victim or a victor? Will you become someone who gives up or someone who grows up? Those choices about who you'll become are always yours, and they are far more important than the circumstances themselves because they shape what you'll attract next in your life journey. Now let me share a principle that has guided me throughout my life. It's the principle of service. The more you give, the more you receive. The more value you create for others, the more value returns to you. Not always immediately, not always directly, but inevitably. This is a demonstration of the you attract what you are principle. When you become a giver, you attract receiving. When you become valuable to others, you attract value in return. When you become a problem solver, you attract opportunities. It's not mystical, it's mathematical. What you put out comes back, often multiplied. But in this is crucial, you can't fake it. You can't give just to get. You can't serve just to be seen. You have to genuinely become a giver, a servant, a value creator. Your motives matter because they shape who you truly are, not just what you do. And remember, you attract what you are, not what you pretend to be. Let's talk about another aspect of this principle, your environment. The people you spend time with, the information you consume, the places you go, all of these influence who you become and therefore what you attract. If you want to become successful, spend time with successful people. If you want to become positive, surround yourself with positive people. If you want to become knowledgeable, immerse yourself in knowledge. Your environment isn't everything, but it's a significant factor in shaping who you become. I always say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's because those people influence your thinking, your beliefs, your standards, your behaviors. They contribute to your becoming, which determines your attracting. So take a look at your environment. Is it supporting the person you want to become? Is it full of people who challenge you to grow? Information that expands your thinking, experiences that stretch your capabilities? If not, it might be time for some changes. Now, I want to talk about patience. Becoming takes time. It's not an overnight process. It's day-by-day growth, decision by decision improvement, habit by habit transformation. Don't expect to become a different person in a week or a month. But also don't underestimate how much you can change in a year or 5 years or a decade. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can become in a year. Be patient with the process, but be relentless in your commitment to it. The person you become isn't determined by occasional bursts of inspiration, but by consistent daily choices to grow, to learn, to improve. Remember, the goal isn't to become someone else, it's to become the best version of yourself. You already have unique gifts, talents, perspectives. Personal development isn't about erasing who you are. It's about enhancing who you are, refining who you are, becoming who you were meant to be. And as you become that best version of yourself, you naturally attract the circumstances, opportunities, people, and resources that align with who you've become. Not because you're manipulating the universe, but because you're cooperating with it. You're aligning yourself with the natural laws that govern success and fulfillment. Let me tell you something powerful. The moment you decide to take responsibility for who you become is the moment you take control of what you attract. Not complete control. There will always be unexpected elements in life, but significant control. Enough control to change your destiny. I've seen this transformation happen time and time again. People who were struggling financially become wealthy, not just through better money strategies, but through becoming more disciplined, more skilled, more valuable. People with broken relationships build beautiful ones, not just through relationship techniques, but through becoming more loving, more understanding, more giving. People with health challenges create vibrant well-being, not just through diet plans, but through becoming more mindful, more consistent, more self-caring. The becoming precedes the having. The inner change precedes the outer change. The personal growth precedes the life growth. Now, as we begin to wrap up our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. Take out a piece of paper, do it right now if you can, and write at the top, to have what I want, I need to become. Then make a list of the qualities, skills, mindsets, habits, and characteristics you need to develop. Be specific. Be honest. Don't write what you think you should write. Write what you truly need to become. Then prioritize that list. What's the one quality that would make the biggest difference right now? What's the one skill that would open the most doors? What's the one habit that would create the most positive change? Start there. Focus on becoming that. Remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Just start. Take the first step. Read the first book. Have the first conversation. Make the first change. As the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your journey of becoming begins with a single choice. And here's the beautiful thing, as you begin to change, as you begin to become more, you'll start attracting different circumstances. Those new circumstances will create new opportunities for growth, which will lead to more becoming, which will attract more new circumstances. It's an upward spiral of growth and attraction. But it all starts with accepting this fundamental principle: you attract what you are, not what you want. When you embrace this truth, you stop wasting energy on wishing and start investing energy in becoming. And that's when your life begins to transform. Let me leave you with this thought: the greatest gift you can give yourself is the commitment to lifelong growth. Not growth for the sake of getting more stuff or gaining more status, but growth for the sake of becoming who you were created to be, fulfilling your potential, making your unique contribution to the world. Because when you focus on becoming all you can be, you naturally attract all you need to have. Your outer world becomes a reflection of your inner world. Your circumstances become a reflection of your character. Your having becomes a reflection of your being. So my friends, go forth and become. Become more skilled. Become more knowledgeable. Become more disciplined. Become more loving. Become more giving. Become more everything that aligns with the life you want to attract. And trust that as you do, as you transform who you are, your life will transform too. Thank you for your time today. Remember, success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. Now go become all you were meant to be.